welcome back to my channel. My name is bmangwandi and welcome to my little space here on YouTube. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. If you're a new watcher, don't forget to subscribe if you think we vibe. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I really do appreciate it and I hope that you're enjoying the channel that is bmangwandi. So for this week's video, I thought I'd give you guys something a little different. You don't see these too often here on my channel, but it's a little sit down chit chat with me and it's all about motherhood. So I wear a lot of hats and amongst one of them is being a mom, and since we're approaching Mother's Day, I figured this would be a good video to do to kind of let you in on that little other side of me. I'm not always about glam, fashion hauls and everything else. Sometimes I'm in a dirty t-shirt, dirty leggings, cleaning up after my 2-year-old. And first of all, I can't even believe that I have a 2-year-old. So what I did was I went ahead and asked you guys to send me any questions about pregnancy, motherhood that you might be curious about, that you want me to answer, and I asked you guys on my Instagram. So if you always want to be in on that action, you don't want to miss the next Q&A, I'll ask you to follow me on Instagram here, and my username is bmangwandi. And yeah, so you guys sent in a bunch of questions and we're going to get to that in a second. But before we do, I just want to kindly thank Luisa Jewelry for sponsoring this part of the video. So you guys already know I've worked with them loads, and if you've been a long time subscriber of mine, you know that I've worked with Luisa. I absolutely love their jewelry. Their sustainable message is amazing. I've had their jewelry for over a year now and I can attest to that. It is great quality. I still have all of the pieces from them and they are long lasting jewelry. If you've already watched loads of my videos, you've already seen their packaging. So this is what you will receive in the post. So you receive a little cardboard box just like this, and this is recyclable, with a little full suede pouch right inside it with the jewelry that you've ordered. And you can see right there it has their logo, Luisa, and it is reusable. So if you don't you don't need to throw this away. You can actually use this for many different things, and if you're going on holiday, this is where you can pack up all your different little bits and pieces of jewelry. So this is a really cute option. Now I'm going to start off with what I'm already wearing. I absolutely love this necklace, so I'm going to give you guys an up close of this particular piece. So this is a necklace, and this necklace style is called Adam Bold, and it is a 16-inch necklace and it has a bit of an extension, and on me it fits just around the base of my neck, and it's the type of style that you can actually layer as a base for different pieces that would be a little bit longer. So you have a lot of options with this particular piece. So the next one is called the Leo regular long Figaro chain necklace, and it is a 22 chain necklace with a couple of inches of extension. So this again is another great piece coming into summer. You can style it loads of different ways, and I'm into layering jewelry, so this would definitely be styled with something that shows off my collarbone and layered with loads of my other Luisa jewelry pieces. So the next one is one that I'm actually excited about, and it is a perfect gift for your mom for Mother's Day, and this is an Alexity mother-daughter necklace. Now the smaller chain is 16.7 inches and the longer one is 18.3 inches, so it will be a perfect gift to give to your mom, and you guys can have a matching situation. Now with these particular pieces, Luisa Jewelry is actually doing a 15% off sale as we speak. So if you want to grab a gift for yourself, for your mom, or for anybody that you think will enjoy this jewelry, I would recommend going onto their site and you can shop 15% off their entire collection. So yeah, let's get right into our video. I asked you guys to send me in some questions relating to pregnancy, motherhood, what have you. So we're just gonna jump right in. Okay, I told you guys that the questions would be anonymous, so I'm not going to say anybody's username. We're just gonna get into the question. So I didn't read any of the questions prior. I didn't want to have time to kind of think about it or anything. I just wanted to be shooting it straight. Okay, so the first question is, Motherhood and careers. People say you can't have both. What's your experience been like? Okay, now when it comes to motherhood and having a career, and I'm assuming it's a full-time career that you would be talking about, I think you can have it both, okay? But you need a tremendous amount of support. Now with me, I work a full 9-to-5 job, so I do have a career and I am a full-time mother, so I can speak 100% to the fact that support is necessary. You guys know that I used to live in the UK, and when I was in the UK, it was just me and my husband, so we didn't have a tremendous amount of support directly close to us, and that was very hard. It was doable, but it was very kind of stressful. And so now that I've moved I've moved back to Ireland, because this is where I'm originally from. Now that I've moved back to Ireland, I can 100% see the difference in having support that's close by. So with having motherhood and a career, I think having a lot of support is very important, because that's how you're able to do it all. Now your career, it depends on how much you're getting paid, because childcare is very expensive, and I can tell you that for free. Childcare is so expensive, so you would want to have people around you that will be able to kind of take that load off you if you cannot afford to send your child into full-time childcare. So I think it is possible, but I think it completely 100% depends on your support. That's your support and your salary. If you don't have the support, you need to have the salary, because if you don't have the salary to put your child into full-time childcare, then you need friends and family that are close by, that have free time, that will be able to take that load off you so you can work. So I think it's possible, but it is very hard. And I think it's very important as well that you also make sure you're planning everything correctly. You have a routine in place, so that when your child spends most of their time in creche, in childcare, or with other people if you're not putting them in creche. So it's important to make sure you have that bonding time with your child, whether you have the dad do the feeding and then I do the bathing. Just make sure you have that alone time with your child, so you can still be bonding with them. It is very important to do that. So yeah, 100% possible. It's 2021. Motherhood and career, one does not need to be chosen over the other. Okay, the next one, were you freaked out about the day-to-day of motherhood? It scares me. Okay, so this person, I know her, she doesn't have any children yet, and to be honest, I was never freaked out about taking care about motherhood per se. I was freaked out about giving birth. If you were to ask my mom, the one thing that I would constantly say, hold on, okay, just checking from the microphone as well, because imagine talking and nothing is recorded. Okay, so one thing that I was scared of was giving birth. Okay, the horror of giving birth, not even the fact that things are not going to be the same, whatever. No, it was about the pain of giving birth. And my mom always used to say, if you've had really bad period cramps, if you've ever had dysmenorrhea, then childbirth would be a breeze, because it was for her. But oof, child, that was one thing that I always had anxiety over, even when I was pregnant, was giving birth. But that choice was taken away from me because I ended up having an emergency C-section. So I've never actually been through labor. I don't know what labor feels like. It was an emergency C-section because of preeclampsia. So I've never gone through that. But in terms of motherhood itself, what comes after giving birth, it didn't really scare me, because you don't really know what you're getting into until you're in it. So does your daughter have tantrums? If so, how do you deal with this? Whoo, child. Okay, so my daughter, she's 2 years old now. She just turned 2 a couple of weeks ago, so she's just graduating into the terrible twos, and I don't want to speak that into existence. Lord Jesus, no. If you know my daughter, then you know that she was pretty chill. She's always been a calm child. She's pretty easygoing. She listens. She's obedient. She's great. But once she started going to creche. Once she started going to creche, I noticed a change in her reactions to things. Okay, so if you took something away from her and be like, okay, you can't take this, you know, this is not good for you to whatever reason that you're taking something away from her, she would accept it and go like, okay, fine, you know. And I would do the replacement method. So if she's playing with something she shouldn't, I would take that away and give her something that she should, and she was cool with that. But now I feel like once she was with other kids, because in her crush, in their little crush bubble, I think there's about 8 of them, and they're all around the same age, and I noticed that she started having you know, behaviors that she never used to. And I highly suspect that it's because she is seeing other kids reacting that way to certain things and probably having a tantrum to get something that they want, and she is copying it, because it's not a consistent behavior. It's only when, you know, by the time Sunday comes, she has spent a whole day at home, she has forgotten that behavior. But when she goes back to crash on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, she is back in doing those tantrums. But once she spent a few hours with, you know, away from crash, she forgets that behavior. So that's kind of like the only thing that I've noticed. And I'm not trying to blame the other kids. The other kids are great, but it's just one of those things where kids they're at that age where they're copying and picking up things from their environment. So yeah. But how do I deal with her tantrums? For the most part, now this is the thing, when it comes to parenting, it is very subjective. It's whatever it is that you're comfortable with. But if she's not in a dangerous situation, she's not in an emotionally traumatizing situation where something has genuinely happened and she needs comfort and protection. If she is just literally having a tantrum for the sake of having a tantrum, I tend to just watch and wait, and she will come to. Now, if it's a case where she genuinely does need something, I will try my best to make sure I figure out what that is. The next one, oh, this is interesting. How do you control your spending on your child? I just can't seem to control myself. I can't seem to control myself either. When it comes to my baby, I have no limits. I have a YouTube channel based on buying clothes and showing them to you. But when it comes to my daughter, it's very hard, because number one, my best excuse is that she's growing out of everything. Okay, so that's literally the best excuse when they're this age, because she's getting so tall. Her dad is tall, I'm tall, so she has gone from like 60 centimeters to like 90, 100 centimeters, and you're just like, Mogel, where are you going? Her feet are huge, buying new shoes every month. So it's not even I feel like for me, it went from, it's 50% necessity and 50%, oh, that's so cute. Do you know what I mean? And I think the only reason that I don't buy as much is because we're in lockdown. So we're not really going anywhere on weekends. You're not going on holidays. You're not really going to events. So there's no real reason to be kind of buying clothes. So that's the one way that I'm controlling the spending because of COVID. But otherwise, if it wasn't for that, I'm pretty sure she would have her whole room. She would literally have clothes until clothes until clothes until clothes. So I think if you want advice on controlling, I'm not the best person for that, because me too, I also want advice on how to not shop so much for your child. How is it knowing that you're now responsible for a whole human? So I've had 2 years to adjust. Okay, so she's 2 years old. I've had 2 years to adjust to the fact that I am responsible for a whole human being, and trying to remember what it was like when it first happened. I think I didn't adjust very well, because obviously, trigger warning, I had postpartum depression. So I didn't adjust very well to having a whole human being depending on me. But I remember feeling quite, the word was not scared, but more so overwhelmed. That's the right word, because you went from being just one person and making your decisions for yourself, doing what you feel like when you felt like, and you really didn't have any limitations, because if you came home from work, didn't feel like cooking, you can just go straight to sleep if you wanted to. If you're having a bad day, you don't feel like getting out of bed, you just have a lie-in. I haven't had a lie-in ever since my daughter was born. I only have a lie-in when someone else has taken her. So lie-ins are like a very expensive currency. I wish I had more of them, but it's quite sobering. Zim accent does not want me to pronounce that word. It's not a scary thought. It is overwhelming knowing that you have a whole person that you are responsible for, and outside of them being a completely dependent newborn, you now have the responsibility of shaping in this little human into a person that is a standard person in society. You know, you are responsible for that. That's the part that kind of scares me, like, oh my god, I hope I do a great job and she is a commendable person in society, someone, you know, but also not putting pressure. Don't put pressure on them to be like they need to win a Nobel Prize and change the world. No, but just being a good, decent human being. That's the pressure that I'm now feeling. So I hope I answered the question. I feel like it's an overwhelming thought every now and then, knowing that you're responsible for this human being, but also then you just try and do your best. That's all that you can do. Try and do your best. Are there any things you grew up saying you won't do to your children that you might do now? I think I shared this on my Instagram stories. I said I was that mother, I was that parent that said, I am not gonna have my child's not gonna have a tablet, they're not gonna have screen time, they're gonna read books and play with toys because that's what I did, technology is an enemy, what have you. That was me. I was adamant about that. But for Christmas, my daughter got not one but 2 tablets. She got a laptop. She watches Cocomelon all the time. She knows the difference between Disney Plus, YouTube, Netflix. She knows the difference between all 3 of those, and she can use them. She can use her tablet to get to where she needs to go. If she is watching a YouTube video and she is bored with that YouTube video, she knows that she can swipe up, scroll across at the bottom and click whatever video that she wants to click. If she wants to watch Elsa, I'm like, okay, she knows when I'm on the TV and I move to Disney Plus, she gets excited because she knows that's where Elsa is. Elsa is on Disney Plus. So I was that parent that was adamant about all of those things when it comes to technology, but it's very useful if you're flying on a plane, traveling long distance. She's fine with the tablet in the back, and she actually learns things. You know, the games that she plays are all educational, so she learns colors, she learns numbers. Some of them she can actually trace on the screen, like the number 1 she knows to be like 2. She can follow along, so they're really, and apparently I watched a Netflix documentary that said using technology is actually great for kids, especially with the touch screens and everything, because it improves their fine motor skills. So there is some benefit to technology, and I haven't seen it. The only thing that I don't do is that when she is in the house and we're all in the house, I don't allow her on her tablet because I don't want her to be just like this on the tablet and not speaking to anyone. So I hide her tablets and to make sure that she doesn't see them, so that because if she doesn't see them, she forgets about them, and she can then interact with everyone and we can kind of be learning and talking together other than having her glued in the tablet. So I completely failed in that. I went back on my word, and it's the best decision ever. I would not change it for the world. How is intimacy a few months after childbirth? Wow, I don't know if I don't know if I want to dive that deep. It wasn't an issue, I'm not gonna lie. It was not an issue. The only issue it would be in my head in terms of how you look, and I also now had a C-section scar. So for me, that's one of my biggest, even now, is one of my biggest things that I'm conscious of. It's not necessarily an insecurity because I can't help it, but I am super duper conscious of that, and I remember that was literally the biggest thing for me. But once you're in the moment, you do kind of forget about it, and you know, self-consciousness goes away. The sun is pissing me off, but I'm just going to continue. So I do apologize because I'm running out of time. My child is I need to go collect the subject of this video. But if you're on social media or you're with your friends and they're talking about how things are going great, they can't stop doing A, B, C, and D like rabbits, and you're thinking to yourself that you haven't had those moments, and you know things have changed, don't be too hard on yourself, because you have given birth to a human being. Whether it's one or multiple human beings, you know, your body has gone through a lot. It's gone through a lot of trauma essentially, and so it's okay for you not to be okay with that side of things, and to give yourself as much time as you need, and also to be open to your people, to your person, and let them know how you're feeling, because they're not mind readers. They're not going to know, and they haven't been through what you've been through for them to know or assume that this is what's happening with you. So it's very important to keep your lines of communication open so that everyone is on the same page, and you can take steps to get to a better place if it's a problem. But for me, the only thing was just getting out of my head about how different I looked and my C-section scar, and once I got out of my head with that, everything was going. Never thought I'd be talking about this in YouTube, but if you want to drop me a DM, we can go into more details, okay? You know yourself if you ask this question. Now, what is the one thing you would say to your younger self about being a mother? Okay, everyone who knows me knows that I've always wanted to be a mom, and so I've always had that maternal instinct, and there's nothing really that I found that was different to my expectations, except for obviously what I talk about when it comes to, again, trigger warning, postpartum depression. That's the one thing that I would probably tell myself that it exists and it's very real and people go through it, and it's not something to take lightly, and you need to prepare your mind for all of the changes that are going to take place before you actually give birth, because I feel like the shock of how difficult it was for me, and a lot of different things. It was a lot of different things when it came to my postpartum depression that contributed to it. So, and also just educating myself about postpartum depression so that I could recognize within myself that this is what I was going through, because I genuinely didn't know. It took 7 months for the diagnosis to happen because I was completely unaware that I had postpartum depression. So one thing I would tell myself about motherhood is just about protecting your mental health as a new mom, as a pregnant woman, you know, knowing about the complications, especially for me. One thing that everyone around me was speaking about was how great their pregnancy was, how great, you know, their birth was. Everything was straightforward. They didn't have complications, and I had a high risk pregnancy. I had the emergency C-section. I stayed in the hospital for 3 weeks after I gave birth. There was a lot of things that happened that I didn't expect that contributed to me feeling less than, like I wasn't good enough, like everyone else was doing a great job and I was the only person that was going through all these hardships, and I was not prepared for that, because I was always sold the dream of the pregnancy glow and the motherhood glow and everything that came with it. So the negative side of things didn't really exist. I wasn't educated about that, and so that made it even harder to recognize that I was going through those things. And I feel like if ever I talk to people about motherhood, I do touch on the negative sides, because it's so important. These kids have chosen to have a little kiki right outside my window. Go on, child, go on, get. Can you guys hear them? They're on their scooters and bikes going up and down the street. Anyway, yeah, so it's just really about making sure that you prepare for and educate yourself about all the different things, the good and the bad, that can take place, so that it's not so much as a shock when it does happen. God forbid it happens, but you know, in case it does happen, you are aware of it and it's not so much of a shock that could be detrimental to your mental health. The same question, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your younger self about preparing for motherhood? It's the same question. Now, how do you balance being a mom, wife, job plus content creation. So if you guys don't know, I am a full-time mom. I'm a plus size content creator, and I have a full-time job. So balancing all of those is not easy. I can't do it by myself. I have a lot of support, and it makes all of the difference. A lot of people take on a lot of different roles to help me out with everything, you know, whether it's, you know, taking care of my daughter, whether it's content creation. Like, my mom is the one that takes all of my photos. I've talked about this before, and I go into detail actually in a video that I did a few months ago. So if you want to watch that, I answered that in great detail, because that was the main focus of that particular video, as a sit down chat about balancing all three of those things. So I get into that in that video, so definitely click to watch after this. Okay, so with this question, advice to aspiring mothers. Now, once you become a mother, because I've never had to try or anything like that, it was a surprise. I was pregnant, boom. But when it comes to actually being a mother, especially during the first few months of motherhood, one thing I always say to any new mom is to prioritize taking care of yourself as a mom, as a person. If you're not a healthy mom in here, and you're not a happy mom in here, you won't be able to take care of your child the best that you can. And you can do this in so many ways, but one thing I always lean towards is doing something that you loved before you were pregnant. Don't be afraid as well to ask for help. You are not a failure. You're not doing anything wrong if you are putting up your hand to say, I need help. Whether it's help with day-to-day routine stuff, where you ask your husband or your partner to say, listen, I need these 30 minutes to myself, so can you feed the baby while I do this? You know, if you are breastfeeding your child, pumping the milk and storing it in the fridge helps as well, because you will then allow your child's father or your partner to feed the baby, and you don't have to be the one waking up in the middle of the night every single time. They can take, especially on weekends, like we had it where Friday and Saturday it was, you know, Nevea's dad that was doing the night feeds, because he didn't have to go to work, so he could wake up in the middle of the night and I could sleep through, because I had pumped milk and, you know, stored it in the fridge, and all he had to do was just defrost it and heat it up and feed the baby. So all of those small things, you know, they give you a break, and that break is so necessary to kind of get yourself to regroup and be ready for the next day, and taking it one day at a time. So don't ever be too hard on yourself as a mother. Do not compare yourself to other mothers. Do not take other people's advice as Bible. When you get advice, you can try it, but if you see that it's not working for your child, then it's not meant to be. We are all figuring out as we go along, and there is no one size fits all at all. Okay, everyone's story is different, and that's okay if yours is too. So that's one thing. I always focus on motherhood mental health, because I was very much affected by that, and that's one thing that I don't want my fellow sisters to ever, you know, to ever take for granted. So always take care of yourself first as your mother, because you cannot take care of other people if you yourself are not 100%. Eventually you will snap, and that's not good. So always take care of yourself. If you have nobody to talk to, my DMs are always open, so you can approach me in my DMs on Instagram, and I'm happy to have a chat with you, because over there we can talk about anything. Okay, so be sure to hit me up on Instagram if you need anything. Ooh, last question. Did you have any symptoms, feelings apart from a missed period that helped you take a pregnancy test? Ooh, child. Okay, this is a funny story and deserves its own story time. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a story time of how I actually found out I was pregnant. So be sure to look out for that, because I think it is literally the funniest story in the entire world. But because I don't want to make this video too long because it's already very long. So yeah, be sure to check out Luisa jewelry. Again, they are doing 15% off their entire website. Okay, so thank you so much guys for watching all the way till the end. I really do appreciate it, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave any comments down below to answer the questions that I've answered, and leave your own answers and feelings, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.